Okay.
Welcome to Review the Channel with me, Lobster Magnet, and my good buddy Greg Gorogregoro.
Hey.
Um, this YouTube channel is going to be devoted entirely towards reviewing things that I like or find amusing. And me and my good buddy Greg go back a long ways. He was my college roommate for the first 2 years in college. Still good, long friends. We've known each other for 10 years. And what did we build our relationship over? It was with the power of shonen anime. So today we are going to be reviewing episode 5 of My Hero Academia, second season. And so, Greg, what do you think of this episode?
Uh, it's pretty good. It reminded me a lot of the Naruto Chunin exam.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, I really like My Hero Academia. Like, one thing I like to do is, like, I go to the scanlation sites, and whenever I see, like, a new pilot chapter or something that, like, name attack, gets my attention, I'll scan through it. And I was very lucky to, like, see the very first pilot chapter of My Hero. And, like, from the minute then, I knew, like, this is it. This is going to be a big one. This is
Yep.
one to follow. This is, like, because for years I've been waiting to see, the ultimate fusion between, like, shonen and superheroes. Because I honestly think they're kind of like the same thing. I think, like, shonen storytelling is basically the Eastern equivalent of, like, Western superhero stories, and I've always been kind of waiting to see that, like, merger, that baby, to form, like, the ultimate collaboration between the two. And My Hero is basically, that perfect fusion. And it's not super original, but it's hitting all the fundamentals very well. Whatchamacallit, I forget the mangaka's name, but he's a great character designer. He's getting those fundamentals. So, how do you enjoy the tournament arc that we're getting so far, the sports festival?
You know, it's good. It's very good. I didn't expect to enjoy it this much because it seemed like a little bit of a filler thing after like all the intense action at the end of
The first
season
season?
one. But I don't know. I feel like it's like using the superhero same like kind of Western superhero genre, I guess. But um, there's like definitely more. It feels more Japanese, like a Japanese spin to it than like Western. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely feels more Japanese than, like, yeah, than, like, a traditional, like, American superhero story, where
Mm.
basically you'd get the origin story. And I think one of the big things that, like, as to why that it feels that way is that, like, in X-Men, like, oh, I'm a mutant, and that's, like, an excuse to have any sort of power, and we're persecuted, and blah blah blah. It's a higher
Yeah.
identities. While here, like, within a lot of, like, shonen stuff, like, in the Naruto universe, everyone's a fucking ninja, so
Mm.
being a ninja isn't special. So the characters start at the bottom of that hierarchy, and half the fun is, like, watching them climb through it. Versus, Spider-Man's always Spider-Man. Maybe he'll, like, fight a tougher villain, but there really isn't much of a growth curve to seeing Spider-Man become a better Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so.
And,
Is this like the shonen version of like how a superhero character would level up? I guess in a superhero universe.
and the fact that, like, oh, it's a superhuman society, everyone has, one, it gives them, an excuse to, like, invent whatever crazy dumb superpower you have without any restrictions. And it's also kind of like an interesting paradigm. When everyone's special, how do you create a regulated society to keep that running, where hypothetically, every other person could be, like, a potentially huge weapon. And, like, it's kind of like in the subtext of the manga and the series that you see them talking about, like, giving quirk counseling to when they're a child. The fact that, like, using your quirk in public is prohibited, for good reason. In fact, like, you'll find this interesting. There's, like, this spin-off manga that was done by, like, the main guy's assistant, called My Hero Academia Illegals. And basically it's like it follows
Okay.
these, like, three older characters, and the idea is that, like, they're vigilante heroes, and that they're, like, doing heroic things, but they're not pro heroes who are, like, registered and licensed and state approved and accredited. Like, overall, it's not quite as good as, like, the main series manga, but
Mm.
as spin-offs go, I find it cute and charming, and I like see, it's an interesting enough world that, like, having that side thing, is fun.
Um, yeah. The thing about this universe, I guess, is that everybody has a quirk, right? Everybody has a quirk in this
Everyone,
universe,
almost everyone has a quirk.
and this is like, I feel like the the main, I guess, the main point of this universe is to build up Midoriya's character, where he's like a completely super below average normal person, I guess.
The beautiful thing, I love All Might. I think All Might's like a great all-time character, and I think the really smart thing that the mangaka guy did was that whatchamacallit, All Might. What makes him he'd be a really fucking boring character if it wasn't for one distinctive thing, is that he's a man who's like perpetually fighting against his limitation.
Yep.
Throughout the series, we're reinforced that like how much it takes out of him that to keep his like Superman facade, and that it's slowly deteriorating him, and he's always suffering these horrible mortal wounds, but he keeps on persisting, and that's the thing we love to see in our shonen heroes. We love to see them like put under the fire. We like to see them tortured and mutilated, and that they still persist through. They still have their teeth gritted. They still go through. That's like kind of like what makes them stand out. And the great thing about Midora Deku is that like
he's going to be inheriting that power, or he has inherited it.
That, but like using the power, it fucks him up. Like just to like punch somebody, like his arm is broken. To use the leg, his leg is broken. To use his finger, so he's like literally tearing up his body, trying to learn this power that he can't control, and that gives him, him also fighting against his limitations and being horribly wounded because of it.
I guess one thing that's interesting is that I want to. It'd be kind of neat to see like how much depth they can go with like the whole Quirks universe. Like,
well, that's one thing that sort of worries me. On like one hand, like I don't think it should ever escalate to the point where like Deku's like flying around shooting energy beams and destroying planets. I like the fact that like the superpowers are kind of like on a low scale, with the exception of a few characters.
yeah.
But that also like we need to see growth. We need to see them do things. So Oda's like a master of like coming up with interesting things. Because like I'm gonna be honest, I fucking hate the devil fruit power system. I think it's like the dumbest power system in manga. It's not good. But like Oda's
the thing about devil fruits though, it's like it's got a tier based system. There's the zone type. Paramecia lower, zone type is higher, right? And then
I think zone types suck. I think it's stupid. I transform into a were animal. It's dumb.
some are more powerful than those, but
it's stupid. They're stupid.
But then the top tier is Logia type, which maybe they should do something like that with quirks, where it's like there's like different tiers of quirks.
Well, I mean, there kind of is inherently. We're like fucking stupid Scotch tape man, isn't as good as the guy who can like shoot fire and ice.
Okay, yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, everybody who has, like, a quirk is, like, sort of, like, on equal ground right now, right? In the universe so far.
Although, not really.
But, like, there's no, like... I mean, so far in the series right now, there's no, like, echelon in terms of, like, who... Like, oh, this kind of quirk is, like... more powerful, so I'm like superior over you or something.
Not quite, except for like shooting explosions from my hand is innately better than I'm a fucking frog.
Okay, yeah, but like I guess what I'm trying to say is like Midora is like on the lower, ladder, and then there's the rest of people with quirks.
Yeah. There was sort of like a sense of growth because he can't really use it well, and so he does have like a system of growth.
That's basically like the tier system so far. It's like Midora and then the rest of the world. Was what I see.
But like, I mean, One Piece. But like, bringing it back to One Piece briefly, like Oda always thinks of like really crazy fucking shit to like for Luffy to do. Like stretching is like the most boring superpower. Nobody's like, oh, I want to be Reed Richards. Reed Richards is awesome, but he turns into a hammer. He arms. He does all these crazy little punching things. He turns into a UFO. Oda always like finds some use for even the most boring powers, and is always creating new ones. Like, the devil fruit thing seems really limiting at first, but through his sheer ingenuity. So that's what I'm kind of curious as the series progresses. I follow the manga, so I'm all up to date. And so far, I haven't seen anything like super inventive, other than just like introducing more quirks with more characters. But we'll see. But we should bring the conversation less about My Hero and more about this episode. And did you like the cavalry battle? Were you getting like chills from the flashbacks of the Chunin exam?
Yeah, I like how they had a highlight for what's his name's character, Midori's rival.
The explosion guy or the
explosion guy? Yeah. So he had his own highlight, and he was like working with his team, but like in an angrier fashion. Like, I'm surprised he's not even like considering. Like, why is he why is he a hero? Why isn't he just a villain right now? He's just so angry. He's so angry at everything.
That is true. He actually is. He doesn't like that's one thing I love about My Hero is that despite it's like very blunt and very obvious, it does do some really smart things. And like Kachan or whatever Bakugo, yeah, I think that's his name. Gets like he does like a really smart stuff with him, where it's like you think like why is this guy going to be a hero? Oh, he's obviously setting him up to become like a Sasuke. And there's even a scene later in the manga where it's like, he's going to have a Sasuke dark turn. He's going to have a Sasuke dark turn, and he sort of like explains his sort of logic. Which isn't quite right, but still remains kind of heroic. And his journey is like, in many ways, his journey like. We haven't seen a lot about Endeavor, the flame hero, who was an awesome design. That like he's sort of like All Might's rival, and he's the number 2 hero, and his relationship with All Might mirrors that with Deku and Bakugo, where Bakugo is like maybe more talented, but he's just kind of like doesn't have a good spirit, doesn't work well with people, is kind of like an asshat. And just like Endeavor, who's kind of like a conceited asshole, and I won't ruin. You'll very soon learn more about Endeavor and the relationship to the son.
Yeah, I could always sort of tell there's like a little bit of foreshadowing, like, I won't use my flame powers because I don't want to be like my father or something like that.
Yeah, you'll get about that. I'm curious to see how they handle that backstory in the anime, because like in the manga it was kind of like not great. Like, I'm always a sucker for a good backstory, and I just thought this is okay. But like sometimes like A to B plus animation can like elevate something that's like C material. 1 second though, let's end this review and then we will discuss our next thing.
All right, sounds good.